Story 1. I walked out of the bathroom with a piece of toilet paper stuck to my foot. Story 2. I don't know why, but at 44 years old I am still afraid of clowns. Story 3. Unexpected knocks on my door. I live alone in a condominium in a gated community. Every now and then someone knocks, which I assume is a neighbor. Since I never knock on anyone's door, it frightens me. I keep the deadbolt locked and do not move to check the peephole. If I am expecting someone, there is no problem, but a random knock raises my heart rate and I do not approach the door. Story 4. I really hate that people know I poop. It's been a thing since childhood. I was adopted at 18 months from Russia, so the only logical explanation I can think of is that something happened at the orphanage related to the bathroom and I've repressed it subconsciously. Maybe I was beaten or hit or otherwise abused. I don't know. I hate people knowing. It's irrational, but saying I am extremely private about my bowel movements would be an understatement. I literally held my bowel movements for an entire 7-day Boy Scout summer camp once. Is that bad? Story 5. Airport security makes me nervous. I worry I might have accidentally packed a brick of cocaine in my suitcase, even though I have never done drugs in my life. Story 6. I am terrified of a bed bug infestation, so I am difficult to travel with. Before we can even bring our luggage in, I check everything for bed bugs. Termites make me anxious. Our house has a slow-growing termite infestation that we spot treat for now, so I guess that is not so bad. But I dread having to tent the house. We had roaches in Florida, but fortunately in my current area they are not very common in houses. They are terrible and I had nightmares about them last night. Speaking of stress dreams, when I have them it is either about being overrun by bugs or about social rejection. I am oddly afraid of social rejection. I care deeply about whether someone likes me, and I wish I did not. Story 7. I have this strange fear that one day I will bite into an apple and it will be an apple-shaped piece of red marble or other decorative material, causing all my teeth to shatter. Story 8. When I'm under fireworks and watching them so high in the sky, I feel like they're going to fall on me. Or when objects are high up in the sky, I worry they will hit me. I don't know what this is called. Laughing out loud. Story 9. Developing schizophrenia. I cannot imagine not being able to tell the difference between reality and imagination. Story 10. Alligators and crocodiles. I am not joking. I am very afraid of anything that survived the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event and has not changed in 66 million years. Story 11. Rabbits. I think it started with Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Story 12. I am always afraid that swings where the poles are not buried in the ground will tip over if I swing too high. Story 13. I hear random house noises. I know it is normal, but I am paranoid that the entire house will collapse on top of me and that I will be unaware it is going to happen. It has gotten to the point that when I hear the toilet gurgle strangely, I think it is going to explode. This fear began after a backed-up sewage incident. My family lives on a farm. Not fun. Story 14. Empty parking lots. It is strange when there are acres of empty parking spaces on a weekday, yet the lot is jammed with cars on weekends. Sometimes someone is parked in a random space in the middle, sitting in their car and watching everyone. Story 15. Dark windows. People can see in, but I could not see out. When I was a child, I woke to a man cupping his hands and looking into my window. When I was about 40, my older sister finally admitted the man was one of her friends. Story 16. The sound of low-flying aircraft terrifies me. I am very interested in aviation and I love flying, but the sound of a low-flying plane fills me with pure terror every time. Story 17. My basement. I am a middle-aged adult, and I do not believe in ghosts. We have lived here for almost 6 years, and the basement just really creeps me out for some reason. I have never been bothered by basements before, only this one. Story 18. I recently discovered I am strangely afraid of the applanation tonometer that eye doctors use to measure eye pressure. My brain thinks it looks like a torture device, even though it does not hurt. Why cannot I just have the air puff test instead? Story 19. In old age, my family has a history of Alzheimer's disease and cancer. The idea of slowly losing the memory of everything and everyone I have ever known, while losing the ability to control my own body, terrifies me. I would much rather live a short but merry life than a long one. Story 20. Being possessed by the devil. I saw The Exorcist too young and came to believe I had to invite the devil in. When I thought about it, I would scream in my head, "That's not permission." Story 21. When I was about 6, a ceiling fan fell right in front of me. Story 22. I am terrified of rabies. It is very dangerous, and you usually do not know you are infected until symptoms appear. Once symptoms appear, the chance of survival is less than 1%. Many people think rabid animals are always extremely aggressive, but they can also be friendly and docile. If an animal that is normally afraid of people, such as a deer or a raccoon, approaches you, there is a good chance it may be rabid. Rabies is a neurological infection that alters the brain and can change behavior. This is why friendly dogs can become aggressive and why fearful deer can become curious. Even a scratch from an infected animal can transmit the virus. If you are bitten or scratched, get the rabies vaccine promptly. Story 23. Whales are creepy floating creatures that make unpleasant sounds. No, thank you. Story 24. Birds can fly to your neck and chomp your carotid artery with their small, precise beaks. No, thank you. Story 25. I love silence and soundproof headphones, but I cannot wear them in public because they have the opposite effect. I would not be able to hear dangers or cues from my environment that could prevent me from walking into harm. I also avoid looking out windows at night. That's a superstition from where I grew up. I had a window peeper once, and I never forgot to close the curtains after that. It was extremely creepy, even if it was probably just a person. Still unnerving. I feel like these habits make sense and are not that strange. Story 26. Conjoined people. I have nothing against them personally. I have always been radically phobic of them. Story 27. Okay, there is a lot of backstory, but my concern is turning into a girl. As a child, I had many female friends and I believed karma worked like on television. I thought that if I said anything sexist, I would turn into a girl. It was a serious fear until I was 14, and a joke until I was 17. Now I have a girlfriend, and she has made it very clear what would happen if that occurred. The fear has returned with a vengeance. Story 28. I haven't had many friends. The last time I had an active Snapchat life was 3 years ago. One time I received multiple Snapchat notifications in a row and thought no one snaps me. What the hell? When I looked, I found a group chat where several guys were making fun of me and making sexually inappropriate jokes about me. Ever since then, every time I get multiple Snapchat notifications in quick succession, I worry it is happening again and I cannot even check my phone for a few minutes afterward. More sad than strange, I guess. Story 29. Not being able to find my way back to my table in a busy restaurant after using the bathroom. Story 30. If I happen to think about sharks while I'm in the bath, I have to get out. Story 31. I tripped and knocked all of my teeth out on the concrete. Story 32. Scary death roads, more commonly known as high-rise highways, make me very anxious. I avoid them if I can, especially when driving alone. I am convinced the vehicle will take on a mind of its own, go over the side, and I will plummet to my death. Driving on a road with a cliff causes the same reaction. Okay, I'm gonna calm my heart rate now. Story 33. I have a few odd fears. 1. Escalators. I do not know what it is about them, but every time I have to get on one, my anxiety goes through the roof, and sometimes, though rarely, it leads to panic attacks. 2. Chickens. I was chased by a flock of them when I was on a farm field trip in pre-kindergarten while trying to feed them seeds, and ever since I have not been able to stand them. 3. Needles. I know it is not odd, but it is odd to me because I was able to sit and get a tattoo, yet getting a shot at a doctor's appointment requires restraints. Story 34. Air sirens that go off during severe weather sound haunting to me, and I can never understand why they terrified me. Story 35. I am absolutely terrified of measuring tapes. The way those metal strips retract is going to slice me open. Story 36. I am afraid something will grab my feet when I sleep, so I keep my feet under the blankets. Story 37. I have a fear of heights and deep water. I would like to stay alive and avoid increasing my risk because my risk-taking tendencies already make the odds higher. I will not work with electricity. It is not for me. Story 38. Instead of dreams about being naked in public, I have had dreams where I go to work or school without a bra. My breasts need to be restrained, and for some reason it is terrifying to have them moving freely in the workplace. Story 39. I fear no man, but my responses to my old, cringy, mean Quora comments scare me. Story 40. Seafood, especially lobster and shrimp, literally look like bugs. Story 41. Losing one or both of my eyes from a stick or other sharp object. Story 42. Frogs and toads terrify me, even pictures of them, except for Kermit and Robin, who helped teach me how to read. Story 43. I knew wolf spiders existed, but I had never found one inside my house until a couple of weeks ago. Now I am convinced they are hiding all over and I just cannot see them. Story 44. Letter bombs and car bombs. Often, when I open my letterbox or hear a car start nearby, I am afraid something is going to blow me up. Story 45. Weirdly sloped street corners are the kind that have crosswalks. Story 46. Brittle stars give me the creeps like nothing else. I hate how spindly they are. They look like alien parasites. Story 47. It is a weird one, but I do not like watching a tape being rewound. It looks so strange with everything going backwards. Red exit signs in a dark room. Story 48. The feeling of falling as when tripping. It is dumb, but anytime I slightly misstep, my heart stops and I get an adrenaline rush. This is not related to heights and I am fairly short. Story 49. I don't like balloons because I always think they will pop near me. I have a weird unconscious belief that it will physically hurt when they do, though not a particularly bad pain, more like the sting of a rubber band snapping back on you. Story 50. I avoided touching door handles long before the coronavirus disease 2019 pandemic. I need to use a sleeve or the bottom of my shirt. Even the handle on the inside of my bedroom door is too much. Story 51. That something would fall from a building, hit me in the head, and kill me. Earlier this year, while exploring Hong Kong, someone who had jumped from the balcony above landed next to me, not 5 feet away. It sounded like a bomb, but when I turned around it was a man. I think I will be scarred for life. I am always looking up. Story 52. Scare actors. I have nightmares where it is not zombies chasing me but people dressed like zombies standing way too close without touching me. I get so upset and tell them to go away because they are freaking me out, but they keep approaching. The mix of fear, anger, and annoyance is too much and I wake up shaking. I do not do haunted houses. Story 53. I am afraid of being trapped in an elevator full of people. If too many people get on, I get off. Sometimes, when I am feeling especially bold, I tell others the elevator is full. They are usually too surprised to argue with me, although it is probably inappropriate. Story 54. For a while I slept with my hands covered by the blankets or a pillow because I thought someone would crawl through my window in the middle of the night and cut my fingers off while I slept. Strangely, I never thought they would do anything else. I've outgrown it, but that irrational fear took up a good decade of my life. Story 55. Having my period and standing up with blood on the back of my pants. Story 56. I was kidnapped by fairies in the woods. I even bought an iron bracelet just in case. Story 57. Unknowingly walking into spider webs. My Japanese in-laws have a traditional garden at their home with trees and tall plants. Because our mailbox is embedded in a wall facing the street, we have to walk along a narrow garden path to reach and open it. More than once I have walked straight into a web stretched between plants or trees. It is the creepiest feeling when a web brushes your face. Sometimes the mailbox is not checked until early evening, so it is harder to see. No way will I walk through that garden at night. For the record, I am not afraid of spiders. I just do not like the feeling of a web on my face. Story 58. I am afraid of being followed on my way home from work. I had a stalker who watched me when I got off work. They left stickers and a note on my car. I wish I had a photo of it. I would have to search extensively to find that video. When I go shopping, I make a list so I am not in the store longer than 20 minutes. Story 59. I have nightmares about one of my children drowning and occasionally experience intrusive thoughts. I do not usually have intrusive thoughts, but this one really bothers me. We do not have a pool. Story 60. My backpack was unzipped while I was crossing the road, and people in cars watched my belongings fall out. It happened twice. Story 61. I am struggling to find work. I am desperately looking for it, but at the same time I am afraid of it. Cannot explain why. Story 62. Swallowing tablets has been a struggle for as long as I can remember. I feel like I am going to choke on one someday. Story 63. Loud sudden noises make me anxious. I can only enjoy fireworks if I cover my ears or wear earplugs. I use earplugs when a thunderstorm is nearby. I had to go to Party City for something and avoided the balloon inflation station. Someone was inflating balloons and they kept popping loudly as I walked by. The cashier wanted me to check out at that station. I asked if they could stop inflating the balloons because the popping was triggering a panic attack. She said some balloons in the pack were defective and kept popping, but they would stop so I could check out. The two other customers there probably thought I was overreacting. Story 64. Having to sneeze at the wrong moment is frustrating. I am not one of those people who can suppress a sneeze easily. When I sneeze, it is loud, messy, wet, and unpleasant. I always carry a handkerchief for emergency sneezing. Story 65. Even though I have never done anything criminal in my life, I feel uncomfortable when police are around me. Story 66. Little people. I am not going to run for the hills, but I am a little afraid of them. I have never personally encountered anyone that short, probably no one much under 5 feet. The shorter a person is, the more nervous I become at the idea of encountering them. It is not because I think they are dangerous or wrong. I am 6 feet 4 inches, and I feel that my height would be a constant source of discomfort and awkwardness for them. I would feel uneasy because I would worry about making them feel uncomfortable. Story 67. I still can't bring myself to look common house geckos in the eye. They really creep me out. Even though they're harmless, something about them gives me the chills. Story 68. Does anyone know what trypophobia is? I would not say I am afraid. It is more an aversion and it makes my skin crawl. I do not know why. Logically, I know it does not make much sense that I find that type of pattern so gross. Weirdly, I remember that as a young child, perhaps 5 or younger, I was afraid of bubbles like bubble bath bubbles. I hated seeing them and did not want the bubbles to touch me. It was not about the water. I did not mind bars of soap, but I really disliked those bubbles. Story 69. A ninja appeared before me and executed me. Story 70. Forgetting who I am and becoming a bad person like a mean amnesiac. Story 71. I am terrified of birds. Thinking of or seeing birds makes me scared, sometimes to the point of completely freezing. I see them in my nightmares too. Story 72. I dislike plain masks or masks that lack features like those the Jabberwockies group uses. I love masquerade masks, but many are half masks so the wearer is still visible. Story 73. A completely irrational fear is being transported to the Antarctic after taking a hot shower. Story 74. Heights, airplanes and roller coasters are fine, but stairs and being on rooftops trigger something in me. Story 75. I sometimes lie in bed in a panic, feeling like the ground beneath me will give way. It feels as if there is no solid ground anywhere, and I cannot trust that the surface beneath me is stable. I am also afraid of falling and of heights, so this does not help. Story 76. Lightning, shower heads, bathroom fans, breaking my teeth, volleyballs, fireworks, children, and probably a lot more, but I forgot. Story 77. Large bodies of water make me uneasy. I know that if I went on a cruise, that would be when a kraken or something would attack. Story 78. I locked my keys in the car and accidentally dropped my makeup in the toilet. Story 79. Mannequins. I can't walk into the clothing section of Target without being on edge. Story 80. I will not let anyone else vacuum in my home because I am petrified that the vacuum cleaner will run over my feet. Story 81. I worry about different timelines or changing something in the past. I have an irrational fear that if I said I wish that had never happened, it would erase the event and make things worse. Equally upsetting is learning that all of my friends are British, not American, and hearing them speak in their natural accents. Neither of these things depends on me, but that does not stop me from being scared. Story 82. Dead animals make me uneasy. I know a deer was struck by a tractor trailer and was in 5 pieces, but I'm still afraid it will suddenly spring to life if I touch it. Story 83. I have been thinking a lot about time. I feel very anxious and afraid, even when I think about the past. Story 84. While inflating my car tires, they exploded from overinflation, bursting near my face and damaging my eardrums. Story 85. If I leave the house without a bra on, I will somehow lose a nipple. Story 86. Ladybugs are so small yet crunchy and they fly. Story 87. I'm worried about accidentally swallowing a toothpick, for example, if it is hidden in food. I worry it will reach my intestines and kill me. I blame the emergency room for that. Story 88. When I see pregnant women, I get chills, goosebumps, and nausea. It's really strange. Story 89. Monkeys. This is crazy to me because it's a new fear, or at least one I've only recently realized. Story 90. Having someone touch my belly button is literally a phobia. I get nauseous just thinking about it. I have been like that since I was a kid. Story 91. When I lie on the ground and look straight up at the sky, I feel like I am going to fall off the earth. If I think too much about gravity, I feel insecure, as if we could fall or slide off. Story 92. I am afraid that a great white shark will randomly drop into my tub while I shower. Story 93. My shoelaces are not tucked into my shoes. I am always afraid they will get tangled in something and I will get hurt. Story 94. Tsunamis and volcanoes are obliterating me. I live in the Midwest. Story 95. I can't assist with requests that include threats or admissions of intent to commit harm. If you need a safe, non-threatening version for text-to-speech use, there will be an item in my bag when I go through security. If you or someone else is in immediate danger, contact local emergency services or a crisis line right away. Story 96. People dressed in costumes, like mascots and such. It's a no from me. Story 97. There is the idea that a gun is aimed at my window and that if I move the slightest bit the wrong way I will be shot. It's only an idea, not reality. Story 98. Fear of being raped. Weird, but watching the Boondocks as a kid really scared me. Story 99. I am afraid that a spider will bite me on my buttocks when I sit on the toilet. I saw arachnophobia at too young an age. Story 100. You'll figure out I'm your real dad. Oh damn it. Ignore that. Story 101. Alligators, crocodiles, and sharks could be in the water if I fall from a bridge. It will probably never happen, but my chances are never 0%. Story 102. I always give the same answer to this question, and I have no idea where it comes from. When I walk into a room, close the door, and turn around, there is a lion standing right in front of me. Story 103. I don't have that fear anymore. Years ago, I was always afraid that whenever I went to the restroom to poop, zero gravity would occur and I would float up into the sky. Story 104. Butterflies land on me. I have never known why. The thought sends shivers down my spine. I carry spiders out of the house with my hands, but butterfly feet? Absolutely not. Story 105. I'm afraid of breaking my nose, but I have no idea why. I've never broken a bone, and nothing bad has happened to my nose. Story 106. Once I clogged a friend's main floor bathroom toilet and the bathroom flooded. I did not know about the flood until a few hours later. Story 107. I am afraid of men cutting or threatening to cut my throat. Story 108. When a song is playing and you are humming along, someone suddenly turns off the music player. You keep humming, then realize the music is off and you are loud. All eyes turn to you. Story 109. I hate crawling, especially when I see it in horror movies. Story 110. My urostomy bag burst in public, leaving me covered in urine. Story 111. Anything with more appendages than it needs makes me uneasy. I'm not afraid of snakes or lizards, but I live in constant fear that a two-headed snake will appear. The same goes for seven-legged insects and other two-headed creatures. I am involuntarily shuddering so hard right now. I also shudder at animals with missing parts. Not a person with a missing leg, but creatures like Mike the chicken. Absolutely not. Story 112. Even though I know lie detectors are pseudoscience bullshit, the thought of being hooked up to one creeps me out. Story 113. I hate driving on hills. I do not like idling in any car. An old car once overheated, and I do not know if that caused the problem. I am afraid of someone being in my car without my knowledge and of discovering it while driving. I do not know where this fear comes from. It began one day for no apparent reason. I need to see each bite I take because I worry about finding something that does not belong in my food. I grew up in a large family, so I have rarely been alone. Even though I have many dogs, I am strangely afraid of being by myself at home. Story 114. The Men in Black, not the movie characters but the real Men in Black. They appear when you see things you were not supposed to see. They stand over 6 feet tall, look like aliens wearing bad human costumes, and make statements such as, "If you want your wife to stay as pretty as she is, you will destroy your research on unidentified flying objects." Then they blink solid objects out of reality. I do not know why, but they scare the hell out of me and I hope I never run into them. Story 115. When I was little, I thought there were alligators or crocodiles in the toilet eating everything. I had no idea how I got that idea into my head. Story 116. Being tickled is, of course, ticklish, but I also feel a strong sense of fear. Story 117. When the water gets even 1 centimeter deeper than my height, some previously unknown sea creature will come and swallow me up. Story 118. I'm afraid of choking while eating alone. What a sad way to go. Story 119. Turkey burgers. The mere thought of eating one gives me such panic. Story 120. Roller coasters make me very anxious and cause shortness of breath when I think about getting on one. Story 121. Structures collapsing feels like being in the 500 level section of a stadium when the floor gives out beneath you. Story 122. Dolls. Those horror movies ruined them for me. Now I cannot look at dolls without feeling creeped out. Story 123. Garbage disposals. I am scared to death I will cut my hand off. I make someone else turn them on. Story 124. I will bite into an apple and my teeth will fall out. Story 125. I'm in a porta potty or a national park restroom, sitting over a deep, putrid black hole with my private parts exposed. I shiver. Story 126. I hate static electricity and dread every zap. I carry dryer sheets and lotion in the fall, but it does not always help. Story 127. Getting in trouble. I have seldom done anything that would get me in trouble. Story 128. Dolls, especially old porcelain dolls, frighten me. I know exactly where this fear originated. I watched Child's Play and Puppet Master when I was way too young, around 5, but even knowing the source of my fear does not ease it. Story 129. Swimming in large bodies of water, knowing the bottom is far below my feet. I think it is a kind of fear of heights, being meters away from a solid surface. Story 130. Plumbing stuff? I hate when there is water maintenance and air gets trapped in the pipes. When you use the sink, air blasts out loudly and unpredictably. I am afraid of automatic toilets. I know how toilet tanks work, so if I need to fix one that won't stop running, I can. Still, it gives me the heebie-jeebies even taking the lid off. I have no idea why. Story 131. I'm oddly afraid of waking up in a different time period and not knowing how to survive. 1 minute you're in 2024. The next it's the 1800s and you're clueless. Story 132. I worry that while washing my face in the shower, a shark will magically appear and eat me. I have worn goggles in the shower before because of this fear. Story 133. My job at my most recent company, my job at my previous company, and my health issues. Story 134. Head lice, leeches, ticks, gah. Just typing it gives me a fright. Story 135. Thunder, not lightning or the fear of being struck, but the sound. Story 136. Hand dryers in public bathrooms are loud. I hate the feeling of the airstream. Good thing they are not too common here. Story 137. If I stare too long at any doorframe, a demon will come and stick its face into the room while grinning. Story 138. Mine seems awfully boring now. Balloons make me nervous. I am afraid they will pop near my face, and my face will become red, itchy, and swollen. Story 139. Cannibals. The odds of encountering one are low but never zero. Pigs. My grandpa used to say he went to shit and the hogs ate him when I was little, and I genuinely thought being attacked by pigs would be a bigger problem. Babies. I worry that if someone hands me one, I will immediately drop it and everyone will be very angry. Story 140. This is based solely on experience in video games. Open spaces in water unsettle me. Being on the surface is fine and the bottom is fine. It is not the depth that scares me. Being near an underwater cliff is also okay, even if I cannot see the top or bottom. Large sea monsters are not much worse than monsters on land, but having nothing to feel anchored to, just drifting in the void, I find intolerable. I have to be near something solid or, failing that, near the surface. If I can look in every direction and see nothing but water, I leave. Playing Subnautica helped me understand the specifics of this. Story 141. Moths and butterflies, yuck. Stay away from me. You are supposed to be ground-dwelling creatures. Story 142. I cannot carry a pen because I am afraid I might puncture my scrotum. Story 143. I cannot touch any swollen part of the body. I am a nurse. This includes abnormally thick body parts such as fingers and ankles. Story 144. Paper cuts affect me more than they should. Even writing this is awful. I can feel myself twitching. The best part is I work with authors, so I am constantly around books and papers. Story 145. Aging. I don't know. It's the feeling of getting old and weak that scares me, and I'm afraid it's too childish to do anything. Story 146. Navigation buoys up close. I will not look down because I am thinking about the anchor and the submerged section. Story 147. Degenerative brain diseases terrify me. I am a first-generation high school graduate who grew up poor and am now an attorney. My memory was a large part of that, and getting away from home helped me. My family includes several intelligent people who made terrible decisions. While this fear is common, I am slightly more terrified of it. Story 148. I look out the window at night because I might see someone staring back at me. Story 149. Dying while taking a shit, bro, would be so embarrassing. Story 150. Orcas are highly intelligent and sometimes play with their food. I have heard that there are no confirmed human deaths caused by orcas in the wild, but perhaps they leave no witnesses. Story 151. Those street performers who stand still like statues. I don't know what it is about them, but they give me the willies. I have to keep walking when they are around. Story 152. Little holes. I hate when there are a lot in one spot. They freak me out. Story 153. The plane is taking off. I like being in fast cars and on motorcycles, especially driving on open highways. But the feeling of your head being forced back when the plane accelerates gets me every time. Story 154. I am afraid that someone will sneak up on me when I am doing the dishes in the kitchen. I get really scared sometimes. Story 155. People in masks. I'm kind of okay with face makeup, but full face masks really freak me out. I'm 54. Story 156. Entering my attic, basement, or other tight spaces where my mind imagines the scene from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom with bugs in a cavern. Story 157. Actually, I winced when I read that a bunch of monkeys escaped in North Carolina. Story 158. I am putting air in a tire because I think it is going to blow up in my face. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.